Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this really cool aerial pool cookie using royal icing, fondant, and homemade deco gel. And I know what you're thinking, summer is almost over, but these cookies are really good any time of year, or you can just wait to practice this technique until next summer. But let me show you how I did it. So the first step is to make little royal icing transfers of people on pool floats or just swimming through the water. I'm using my projector attached to my Archon mount to project the images onto this little cellophane bag. You can also just trace your images onto a piece of parchment paper, whatever works best for you. If you don't have a projector, you can actually just print these images and trace them like you would you're tracing anything else. For the people on pool floats, I'm using white royal icing, and I'm going to color in the pool float with like a edible marker later, since I didn't have various colors of icing. And then for the people who are swimming, I'm just using like a light skin tone that I can darken later. I can either paint over it with a darker color or I can draw on it like I'm doing here. So I'm going to draw the bathing suits and any other details with my edible food markers. I'm using the finest tip I can find just so I can get really nice tiny details because these people are pretty small. Drawing on these tiny little figures can be a little bit challenging, but don't worry too much about the details or making them look perfect. Some of them will be covered by water anyways, and you can use your favorite ones to put in the most prominent spots. And once I'm done adding all the details to the little swimmers, I'm going to start working on the actual pool itself. So the first thing I do is just lay down a really thin layer of blue royal icing. I'm just spreading it on. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to put a bunch of stuff on top of it. I just want a nice blue base foundation for this pool. While that dries, I'm going to work on my fondant, and I'm going to use the fondant to make the border of the pool. So this would be like the cement or the tile around the pool. So I just roll that out, and I'm cutting it with the same cutter that I did the cookie. But because the cookie spreads a little bit, I am going to have to pull the fondant and stretch it over the sides of the cookie, which isn't a big deal. Fondant is very moldable and really easy to work with. So to attach it to the cookie, I used a little bit of water around the edge of the cookie itself where I want the fondant to stick. I left the middle completely dry so I can cut it away later. And I'm just using my fingers to kind of put it in place and make sure that it's going right up to the edge. If I need to, I can cut any excess fondant off. And to cut away the excess fondant, I actually turn the cookie over and just see where there is some fondant kind of coming up over the edge, and I use a scribe tool or an X-Acto knife to cut away that fondant. For the actual pool shape, I'm using this rectangular shaped cookie cutter that's smaller than the cookie itself just to cut out the shape of the pool. You could use any cookie cutter you want. You could use a round one, an oval one. You can even hand cut the shape of the pool. And I'm using my scribe tool to just help make it a cleaner cut and clean up the edges. To add some texture to the outside of the pool, I'm using this little clay mat that embosses the fondant. I'm using my roller just to help really get that nice and embossed. Now I'm filling my pool with homemade deco gel. You can find the recipe for this deco gel on my website. I'll add a link in the description box below. It's really easy to make and it's really fun to work with, although it does set up pretty quickly. So you'll notice that it's already starting to kind of get a little bit stickier. So you need to work fast. So for the people that are swimming underneath the pool, underneath the water, I'm adding them first, and I just press them in with my scribe tool. And I'm going to have to add a little bit of deco gel on top just to make them look like they're underneath the water. If you want somebody that's kind of half in, half out, just press in half of that little royal icing transfer. And then anyone who's sticking up and just floating on top, you can just put those on last. Once the deco gel has had a little bit of time to set, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, you can actually paint on top of it to create those ripple highlights that you will see in a pool on the top of the pool. So I'm just using some white food coloring to do that. I'm adding a little bit of splash by the feet of the person that's underneath the water, like they just jumped into the water. And then the white food coloring will dry almost instantaneously. To add some final details to the pool, I'm going to add some greenery around the edge of the pool. So for this one, I'm just going to put it in the corners, and I'm using a star tip with some stiff royal icing and just making dots of this icing haphazardly in the corners of this little pool cookie. I'm going to use my scribe tool to blend it in a little bit to make it less perfect, and then I'm going to add a second layer just to make it a little bit more dense. This does not have to be perfect. I just want it to look like a bunch of trees or greenery or something around the edge of the pool. So there you go. That's how you make your very own aerial pool cookie. And I hope you give this a try. I can't wait to see what you create. I know summer may be almost over, but you can definitely use these same techniques to create something winter inspired like a skating rink or something else really fun.